Thanks, DJ. You're welcome for crying. So on any given day, let me just check that I know what I'm doing here. Okay, cool. That's forward, this is backwards. Okay, so on any given day, you might get one of two errands. There is, well, that's me, sorry. That's not me, but also that's my information. I'm at Hooray Lorraine on social media stuff. So you might get one of two errands. There is this Erin, professional, classy, awesome, impeccable taste in blazers. And then there is this Erin, with the turd face and the Peter Pan stance. The Erin on the left is an illustrator and a designer. She is a human, a woman, and a freelancer. She lives in an apartment. She pays bills. She answers emails. She is an adult. She likes quiet, peaceful mornings with a well-made cup of coffee. She likes heartfelt conversations on a comfortable couch with a loved one. While the Erin on the right loves Swedish fish, reads books in trees, is obsessed with Saturday morning cartoons, and pretends she's a mermaid at the pool by flipping her hair. You guys did that. You did that. You totally did that. I knew it. I knew it. So most of the time, I feel like I am this version of me, the child version of me that's just walking around in an adult body. And this feels weird because I'm surrounded by seemingly serious adults with serious jobs and serious social circles, and the adult part of me is a little bit ashamed at times of that the kid part of me is still alive and kicking. And the kid part of me is just like, whatever, let's go watch Adventure Time, which is a kid's show. If you guys don't know, it's awesome and you should watch it. So recently I've thought a lot about why that part of me is still alive and well. And I think it's because my parents are awesome. And this is them, the champs with the matching glasses. They're here today also. I just noticed that they are wearing matching glasses in this photo, and like the 90s were an interesting time for everyone. So that's me, and my sister there, Meg, is below me, and then my mom's parents are next to us. So my parents, they didn't teach me to believe in Santa Claus, but they still introduced me to and taught me to love fantastical worlds. My parents are artists, and they crafted this home environment that was imaginative and creative for my sister and I. And a big part of that was that they read us great stories. They read to us almost every night, and there was one book in particular that my dad really loved reading to us, and we loved hearing it, and it was called I Can't Get to Sleep. It was a book by Frank Rogers, and it's about this boy who can't fall asleep, and one by one his family members come in to tell him a bedtime story. And the real reason I think why my dad loved reading this and why we loved listening to it was that he had different voices for like every single character. So like the mom sounded like this, and I'm gonna tell you a story about a rhino and an elephant who joined the circus. And then the dad sounded like this, and I'm gonna tell you a story about the pirates, and they ride on this big pirate ship. And then the grandpa came in and he told him a story about a little bear who had a birthday party. And then the grandmother came in, and she told him a story about a rabbit and two giants who formed a band. And think about the lovely music they played. And after each story, the kid would fall asleep, but then the characters would come alive in his dreams, and they become so real and so loud that they wake him up each time. And this was just, the kid wakes up and he's still yelling, "I can't get to sleep!" And so dad's yelling this, we're yelling this, everyone's yelling. And it just became such an alive story. Don't worry, those of you that are worried, the kid does eventually get to sleep. You have to read the story to find out what happens. But it was these imaginary worlds that I found myself being drawn into. And without realizing it, I started learning things about real life from them. So we read stories by Tommy DePaula, and stories like The Knight and the Dragon. And so this story is about a knight and a dragon, and they're terrible at fighting each other, and so but they realize that they can use their gifts in a different way, and in the end, they end up opening a barbecue restaurant together. And so I learned that there is beauty in finding unconventional paths in life. We read stories by Kevin Henkes, and stories like Chrysanthemum. It was about a little mouse named Chrysanthemum who learns to love her name after getting made fun of it at school. And I learned to love myself for who I am. We read stories by Chris Van Allsburg, who made the original Jumanji book, and the power of mystery and the power of that mystery in life. And we learned that sometimes things can't be explained, and that's kind of exciting. So all of this taught me a lot. I learned a love of storytelling. I found that there was always something to learn about the real world in a fantasy world, like with The Knight and the Dragon and with Chrysanthemum. And the lessons learned in those stories wouldn't have packed the same punch in the real world if someone had just walked up to me and was like, "Hey, it's okay for you to find unconventional paths in life. Hey, it's good for you to find confidence in yourself and in your identity." It's just really not quite the same. But the biggest thing that I learned was through my dad and through my mom, and that it's okay for an adult to be a kid and to look on this world with a sense of wonder. My dad is a fully grown man reading to a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old, and he's acting like an idiot, and that's beautiful. And sometimes that lesson to be learned is just that life is silly, and it's not to be taken too seriously. And my dad was looking on the world with a sense of wonder, and he taught me to look on the world with a sense of wonder too. So my work today is really rooted in bringing that sense of wonder to life. Here we go. So there's the wonder of nature and its diversity. There's the silliness of life and not taking it too seriously. There's exploring story and place and atmosphere. There's a love for exploration itself, whether that's in the deep jungle or a new city. This is my first apartment in Cincinnati. It did not come with that giant bird. I put that there because I wanted to. Or the complete unknown. I love exploring folklore and the supernatural. And I love exploring the wonder of the imagination. So here are some imaginary friends, how weird they can be, or how comforting they can be. And this was something that I made for my sister and for my cousin Brenna. So we're just continuing to encourage the imagination, because why not have a crayon bridge? So here, we're trying to capture that sense of wonder in books. Because for me, it always comes back to books and stories. And this is actually Smaug from The Hobbit. And Lord of the Rings and Tolkien's worlds really had a huge impact on me growing up. Fellowship of the Ring came out when I was in 7th grade, and it was the best thing I had ever encountered in my life. It's actually a huge reason why I do calligraphy today. In a weird way, his map making was just like, oh my God, it was insane. We went to go see it for my birthday in the theaters. I came back and I was like giving all the spoilers away to my sister. She was so mad at me. And here's, again, The Hobbit. So I feel so lucky to be able to do this every day. But it's not always easy, because you can't just be a kid. You can't fly off like Peter Pan to Neverland and ignore real life. There are bills to pay. There are dishes to clean. There are family members to care for. There's car maintenance. So this one day, a few months ago, I had this really weird day, and I just wanted to kind of treat myself, treat yourself. And so I was like, I'm just gonna go see a movie. So I decided to go see Zootopia. I had heard that it was amazing. It had gotten really good reviews. It's an animated film. I love animated stuff. And so I was like, I'm gonna treat myself. I'm gonna get some Swedish fish. I'm gonna get a big icy, specifically white cherry, because that is the best flavor. And if you tell me otherwise, I will take you down. Like, all right, I'm gonna get my icy. I'm gonna get my Swedish fish. And on the drive there, my car breaks down on the highway. And not even just, so it was actually on the off-ramp that was the exit to get to the theater. I was so close to my Swedish fish and my icy, and my car just decides to stop working. And so I'm on the side of the highway and making these calls to the insurance people and to the tow truck and to the mechanic and all these guys. I'm calling my friend Nate, and I'm like, can you come pick me up? And I didn't see Zootopia for another month. But we have to live in the real world. It's a really great movie, by the way. Everyone should see it if you haven't seen it. It is incredible. It tackles these complex themes like oppression in one of the best ways that I have ever seen. So we have to live in this real world. But that does not take away my sense of wonder and seeing the fantastical in life. And I'm finding that it has to be a daily practice. It's a muscle to be stretched and worked out. So I wanted to share with you guys a few things that I do to kind of keep that muscle going. So I have daily exercises that include my love for words and learning. I did this series, it's called Word of the Day, and I took an interesting word and I drew myself acting out that word. And that's a hard thing. You have to stretch that muscle, thinking about what would it look like for a person to be sanguine. So I do this. I keep a sketchbook with me at all times. And that makes me slow down enough to notice and observe things. And when you get out of the fast-paced, just chugging along at 1,000,000 miles an hour, you start noticing things that you wouldn't have noticed before. And so keeping this sketchbook with me is very important. And anytime I see something that interests me, I draw it. And it's so great because we live in this city of Cincinnati that there is beautiful architecture everywhere, and it feels forgotten sometimes. And so sitting and taking the time to draw a building can really help play up that sense of wonder in your life. And if you can't draw, just stop and observe. Take the time to look. Go to the zoo, draw animals, draw the people. Like, going to the zoo is one of the best places for people watching. It's incredible. And there's something about being around animals that is just it takes you back. It takes me back to being a kid and just watching this fantastic creature whether that's, a cat or a giant leopard or whatever. So observing things. Also taking everyday objects and turning them into something else, or thinking about them in a different way. So here, this dead battery is a dead battery, R.I.P. There's actually a really, really great book by Christoph Niemann, and I really hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's called Sunday Sketching, and he takes these everyday objects and he turns them into something else. And it's really, really great. So wonderful that we get to live in a world where reality and fantasy can have a relationship with one another. And because the best things come from books, here is a quote from Through the Looking Glass. And so Alice says, "One can't believe such impossible things." And then the Queen says, "I dare say you haven't had much practice. When I was your age, I always did it for half an hour a day. Why, sometimes I've believed in as many as 6 impossible things before breakfast." And I haven't had any breakfast yet, so I still got some time. And I hope you guys do too. Thank you. So we're going to do Q&A now. So if anyone has any questions, but I would also love for this to be a conversation. I would love to hear from you guys, as well as your questions. What are the things that you do to keep your inner child alive? You don't have to answer that, but. Yes?
Hang out with my kids.
Nice, yes, hang out with kids. That is seriously such a wonderful thing. I do Whiz Kids tutoring in town in Cincinnati. They have a program that is helping kids learn to read, and so kids that are behind in school, you can take the time out of, it's just an hour a week, and you kind of start building this relationship with this student. And so my student is a 5th grader, and she is hilarious. And it totally keeps me on my toes. It keeps you in that attitude of you see the wonder they have for the world, and you remember that, and that's really important. I love that. Thank you. Yes?
This is sort of mostly a question as a fellow Adventure Time fan.
Yeah, girl. Yeah, love it.
I've been listening to a lot of the Steven Universe soundtrack. Have you watched the Steven?
Oh my gosh, that's next on my list to watch. Don't worry. That sounds awesome. I'm all about it. Do you?
Songs are about friendship.
Oh, sweet. Legit. That sounds awesome. Thank you. I'm writing it down. I don't have a pencil, but mentally I'm writing it down in my brain. Yes, Mike.
So you told us a lot about what you do on a regular basis that you've assigned to yourself.
Yeah.
Walk us through the process of somebody else assigning you something for a project. Your process there, what's your research look like? Or do you just dive in?
Well, all my projects look wildly different, so it's hard to assign one particular thing for all of my projects. You have to know your audience, so researching the audience is good. I often just sketch a ton and allow myself to explore different styles, different mediums, before you arrive at the one that looks right. It's hard to say. Was that kind of a little bit? I said it. Okay, good to know. Anyone else? Any questions? Or how you keep that kid alive? Yes? Where and how am I using the calligraphy? For a lot of things. My illustration stuff and my calligraphy stuff tends to be a little bit separate, though I am working on a piece right now for a friend for their nursery, and so I do a lot of like quotes and stuff, which has been really big the past few years. And the quote is, "Here is the world. Beautiful and terrible things will happen. Don't be afraid." And it's from Frederick Buechner. And so I have kind of this hand-lettered central circular piece that has the quote in it, but then surrounding it is all these like kids that are but it's also like a jungle, and there are animals within that jungle. And so there's a tiger, and there's a snake, there's also an elephant and a mouse, and then the kids are kind of woven throughout that, and it kind of has this really great, sort of what I've been talking about today, that weaving of like there is reality and there are things that happen, terrible things that happen, but there's also beauty in that as well. I got off topic. Calligraphy. Yeah, I mean, that is a really good marriage of those two things, but I mean, I do wedding cards and that kind of stuff. I also do calligraphy workshops. It's a good time. Where are the workshops? They tend to be kind of one-off things. The next one I'm hoping to do here in the side room. The last time I did one was at the end of October, but I'd like to do another one in February or so. So keep an eye on social media, and I will post something, hopefully. Does that sort of answer your question? Okay. Anyone else? Yes?
I mean, you kind of hit a good place in your career right now, it seems, but the early
I'd like to
years,
think so.
those,
Yeah.
When you're like, okay, I want to do a creative career,
Mm-hmm.
but there's this transition before you get established and have
Yeah.
reliable network. Like, what was that process for you? How did you
I
get through the self?
Yeah, I still feel that 1,000% of the time. I think that the myth of like making it, I don't know that anyone ever really makes it, and I have certainly not made it. I still wrestle with self-doubt. I'd still ask myself some mornings, is this what I should be doing? And should I just, quit and get a day job? Yeah, thanks, Mike. Appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, still kind of working up to this point, exposing myself to other illustrators, other people that were doing what I was doing, learning as much from them as possible, has been very, very helpful. There is actually a really excellent podcast by Andy J. Miller / Andy J. Pizza, and it's called The Creative Pep Talk. He's awesome. He's an awesome dude. I feel like we're friends, even though we haven't met. And he gives really, really good advice on balancing the business of being a freelancer, a creator, a maker, and then also the creative side of that, and how to nurture both sides of yourself. Yeah, so, I mean, just exposing yourself to a ton of info, but also not getting too, it's easy to kind of get tunnel vision and only look at, so I want to be a children's book illustrator, and I'm only going to look at children's book illustrators. That can be helpful. That can also be unhelpful at times. If you are only looking at one certain type of thing, then that's just gonna. So to broaden looking at different types of work, even outside of the field of art, visual art, looking at music, and going back to Andy's podcast, he was talking about this past episode, getting back to what you loved as a kid and what had huge impact on you as a child, and then kind of exploring that with fresh eyes, the adult eyes that you like have all this knowledge now. Yeah, in multiple different types of areas. Mm-hmm. What?
But can I piggyback off of myself?
Yes, please.
You mentioned the keeping your eyes open and not focusing on one
Yeah.
genre or one field. What do you find are the best ways? Because I feel like the more I'm an adult, the more you find out there are jobs out there that you never even knew were jobs.
Right.
So like, how
Which is great.
what are the most effective ways for you to discover those, like your multi friends wall?
Right. I don't know. I think that comes with exploration. I don't know. I'm not being very helpful. It's hard. I guess what I'm trying to get at is it's hard. It is very, very hard. And all we can do is continue to have an attitude of learning. Yeah, because as soon as we think like, oh, this is all there is, then you're screwed.
Erin, I think if you put yourself out there,
Yeah.
sometimes those things that you didn't know find you.
Yeah.
But you have to make yourself available.
Yeah, for sure.
But you have to, your work.
You do need to put yourself out there.
Out there.
Yeah, that's a huge thing. Just make stuff. Just doing and not letting your head get in the way. Like, I will often like get too much in my like own headspace, and I'm like, oh, but should I do this or should I do this? Whereas the answer sometimes is just making it, doing it, and then the solutions will work themselves out eventually. Yes.
I think along with that, just networking and putting yourself out
Yeah.
there completely, because other people will view what you do in different ways than you do.
Right.
Like, when I told my parents that I was going to be a graphic designer, in my head I had a specific vision, but
Mm-hmm.
my dad thought that I was going to be making things like the Geico Gecko.
Right. Yeah.
But I mean, in reality,
It's funny because you're wearing lizards on your shirt.
in that direction. If I worked at it. So, I mean, I think other people can help open up these doors for you if you let
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah, definitely. All about that. Yes.
Do you ever find that people know you for a certain thing and you might get tired of doing that, a certain style or thing?
Yeah.
Like, you're like, I want to kind of go in this direction, but I'm getting tired of this thing.
Right. Yeah. If there is stuff that you are, like, if you're working on stuff that you're not wanting to work on, which we all have to do, start creating the stuff that you want to get hired for. Just make the stuff that you want to make, and that really comes out in your art. If you are passionate about the stuff that you're working on, then that really shows. People see that. So, I mean, like, a lot of people come to me for like these little like couples portraits that I do for like weddings and engagements and stuff. And it's one I like do it. I don't know if I like doing those. I'm fine doing those, but then I feel that sometimes those are the only inquiries that I get. And I'm like, okay, can I do something else, please? And so I find that I have to create content for myself that I want to do, that I have the passion for.
Where do you put it that people see it? Instagram?
Yeah, I mean, social media. I mean, it's easy. Like, Behance is a really good social platform. Yeah, Instagram, if you can do a website. Just like Dribble is a good place, which I have not been on Dribble for a really long time, and I need to get my Dribble game back on there. Dribble is a really great community between artists, and you get good feedback and stuff. So, does that help? Okay, cool. My bro.
Awesome talk.
Thanks, bro.
You have this like great idea about fantasy and holding on to like things that really compelled you as a child.
Mm-hmm.
You had great parents. What are the other things that contribute to that, or on the flip side, Why do so many people lose that, you think? And what should we be on the lookout for?
What should you be on the look, like symptoms of being too much of an adult?
Yeah.
It's hard to pinpoint. I think like that not slowing down and taking yourself too seriously is
critical.
yeah, the sense of wonder is critical. You're correct. Yeah, I mean it. Again, like being around kids, you know, be willing to put yourself in more childlike situations. Watch kids' movies, you know. Yes, DJ.
Adding to the conversation.
Yeah, please do.
There's a point where I became afraid to fail. And
Yes,
that
yes.
passion was like this thing that I was reaching for.
Mm-hmm.
So your original question, what do we do to kind of keep that up?
Yeah.
Something I've been trying to do is like I'll design, I'm a graphic designer, I'll design something, print it, and then take a Sharpie marker and just ruin it. And
Yeah, I saw that on your fridge the other night.
I actually like that more than I like the stuff that I sweated over.
Yeah. Yes. Fear of failure is huge. Also, thinking we know everything or wanting to appear that we know everything. I don't know crap. And I think that is very helpful for having that attitude, because if you have a sense of wonder, you are still learning things about the world. The world is a magical place. And if we've explored everything, if we know everything about the world, if, you know, everything's been discovered, then what is there to wonder at? So finding those things and being okay with not knowing everything, being okay with failure. Prime.
Sweet.
Does anyone else have any thoughts on that, like, or ideas on? Yes? Being vulnerable? Yeah. Definitely, for sure.
And when I need to reconnect with the sense of wonder,
Yeah.
one of the techniques I use is to disengage from technology for
Yeah,
for a while.
that's huge.
Go out for a hike,
Yep.
you know, someplace.
Get out in nature.
Or if you can, turn off.
Yep. 100%.
Video that I find inspiring.
Yeah.
Fiberglass is the gap.
Ooh,
And it's
I haven't watched that.
a 2-minute little speech that he does, and it's basically the idea that you said, like, just keep making stuff.
Yeah.
There's that point. There's a point
Ira,
where we
so
know
good.
what good is, but
Yeah.
we're not making it yet.
Yes.
We haven't done it enough, and rather than stopping because what you're making isn't good,
Yeah.
just keep making it, and eventually your knowledge of what you want will be what you're making.
Sweet. Maxine?
I was just going to say too, like playing games is really
Yes.
board games, like
Yeah.
so much great stuff out there.
Mm-hmm.
Really is another like arena where people are making worlds, and it's
Yep.
so exciting to like engage and jump in and like be silly and
Be silly, for sure.
yeah.
Yes.
I think it would really help to just keep exploring not just the world, but also your imagination and stories. Like books are really important to me.
Definitely.
The stories that they
Yep.
tell.
Yeah, read books. And not just like nonfiction, you know, actually explore imaginary worlds. Yes.
I find that the fear of failure is huge.
Yeah.
I think if you just, what I find myself doing when I get stuck in a rut is I just do something really odd, and I'll go like last time we went out to a friend of ours' business birthday party, and I just brought a bunch of silly hats. And it's just fun to see what happens when you do that.
Yeah.
So it creates a whole new atmosphere. So, you know, it's just that sense of instigating silliness
Yes.
in public spaces.
Giving opportunity for silliness. Yeah.
It creates so much fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. People's Liberty just did, one of their grantees was the Play Library with Julia Fisher. Thank you. And you could come to this space for 3 months and rent a toy, a board game, and it was a space to play in, and kids and adults alike came and played, and it was so great. So that's really awesome. Yes.
what everybody is saying is be a kid.
Yep.
And the way to
Yeah.
the way to stay away from being
An adult is to be a kid.
be a kid.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
to play, to go outside and romp around and find the pirate ship and the fort,
Yep.
attack it.
Yep.
You know, so you just have to hang on to. Robert Williams calls it that spark. You know, if you lose that spark of fantasy, ideas, craziness, silliness, you lose that. If that's going out, then do these things to reignite it for sure.
Yep.
Well, any of the new and different things that I've tried to do in the last couple of years, because I went through some life changes and stuff, I would just, if I even took a minute to hem and haw about do I want to do it or not, I would just think,
Yep.
what's the worst thing that can happen?
Right.
Who cares? So they don't
Exactly.
So they don't like me. I don't care.
Whatever.
And I just developed this new mental attitude.
Yep. That's awesome. I hear you. Yes.
I was going to say off of his, if you ever watch the video of the little kids going into the nursing home and playing with the older child.
Oh no.
Just the kids going
That sounds
into the
beautiful.
nursing home brought that new and it almost gave the elder people that are passing away a new sense of life.
Yeah, I'm crying just thinking about it. Oh my gosh. That's awesome. Yep, that's beautiful. Anyone else? Yes.
I made a mental note of Zootopia, The Little Prince, but are there any other cartoons or, I've gotten really out of touch with
Kid stuff, yeah.
reading or stories.
Adventure Time is really good, as I said. Most of Pixar's work is incredible. Their sense of story is good. What? The Secret of Kells and The Song of the Sea by Cartoon Saloon are incredible. They not only is the story engaging, but they're visual masterpieces. So it's Secret of Kells and The Song of the Sea, and Secret of Kells is on Netflix. One of them is, or used to be, something. They're on Amazon Prime too. What? Kubo and the Two Strings, any stuff by Laika, so Paranorman and Coraline. Oh, Coraline, so good. Oh, any Miyazaki stuff, box trolls. Spirited Away, Totoro, Howl's Moving Castle, incredible. Inside Out's good. Pixar stuff, Disney stuff, really, really good. Just immerse yourself in a child's world. It's really, really helpful. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, were you going to ask?
I heard a child say once when they were given I think it was a C- or a D
Uh-huh.
on self-portrait. I will never draw again.
And that is so sad.
It was so sad, and she said, that teacher isn't even an art teacher. She doesn't know me inside. And that child didn't draw again for a long time, and now is a graphic artist.
Yeah.
Will never, ever do a self-portrait.
Wow.
She'll get out of it any way she can.
Yep.
But I think not that we would do that to children ourselves, but we kind of do it to ourselves.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's the theory, don't give the child the eraser, make them figure it out, and get that errant mark somehow into that drawing.
Yep.
But we don't let ourselves do that.
Yep. There's a point in a kid's life that you can see in their art. My mom used to be an art teacher, and there's a point where, so before everything, they're just scribbling and this is what an apple looks like, and they've scribbled in, they're making the form of it, the how it feels. That is what an apple, that is apple. And then they hit this point when they are drawing what an apple should look like, and so they draw the outline of the apple with the leaf, and that is apple. First, which is more true? Is it our perception of what apple is, or is it this is what I feel that apple is? And it's so sad to see that break from this to this. And a lot of that is schools it's hard because the school system is so structured and industrial and it's like a factory. It's hard for that creativity that is so alive in a child, it's hard for that to survive the grueling school. But yes, Julie.
Along that line, you see when they're in kindergarten, they are all artists. They're confident they're not so self-aware. When they start to doubt themselves, we talked about the fear and fail,
Yeah.
then they hit this stage all of a sudden, I can't draw that, I can't. And
Yep.
it's so sad because they're all artists when they're younger, so
Yep.
how do you tap back into that again?
Yep. Thanks, Mom. Yes.
I was going to say, and that's how important part about as adults to be kids,
Mhm.
it gives you that courage.
Yes.
It does you free.
Courage.
Do what comes next.
Yeah, don't be afraid. Like, what is failure? Like you were talking about before, like DJ mentioned, like, what's gonna happen? What's so bad about, if you're not an artist, like if you aren't an illustrator, if you don't have drawing skills, whatever, try drawing, try doing something that you aren't comfortable with. And yeah, that's really great. Yes. Yeah, one. So this will be the last one. No pressure. Oh, it's not a question. Okay.
Okay, I was just gonna say that's something that my friend group has done sometimes, that I think goes back to your, trying to be a kid again. And with my friend group, we're about half designers, half other things. So I think it's sometimes inspiring for the designers to look at the people that aren't artists because those people are resigned to their inability to
Right.
be artistic.
Right. I can't draw. Yeah.
Because I know that that fear of like failing and not being as good as I want to sometimes holds me back from doing and drawing and being as creative as I think I could be.
Yep.
Whereas the other people, they just do what they do, and that can sometimes turn out really beautiful and at least
Yep.
inspirational.
Yep. Sometimes we've decided that we're not good at something. And that's failure in and of itself, the inability to, or the refusal to do something, to try. So we can try things more and embrace the inner child. Okay, I think that's it. Yeah, thanks guys.